you have this interesting, the curious case of Giovanni Pelletier. Now, there's so many things that have been said about this. It's you can't even wrap your head around what is going on here. Have you been keeping up with this, and what do you think?
I've seen so many things on Facebook going back and forth. I even saw Sheriff Ivy comment on it because there were people that were doing search parties and memes, and there was a lot of confusion on what happened the night he disappeared, and then where he was going, where he was heading, where he got to. So during the search parties I heard about were in memes, and he was not found in MEMS. He was not found in Brevard County. There's no evidence that he ever made it to Brevard County, and that was something that Sheriff Ivey was trying to tell people. Like, we weren't looking for him because there's no evidence he even got here. But even after there was he was found, and some of his like his backpack and stuff was found. I really don't. After reading some of the stuff and hearing what was said, I'm not sure what was really fact about the case right now, because there's a lot of stories going around, and I'm not sure who started it. It's not like a news service, and I think even a news service is getting the story from the family, and then they're getting a different story from law enforcement, but it's not clear what exactly happened, what's transpired, because
A lot of contradictory, it seemed like contradictory accounts of what actually happened. But we did get this yesterday, and so we reported it on Brevard News, and it was off of the Facebook page of a social media page of one of the relatives of Mr. Pelletier, and I think it's the cousin here, and he said, I'd like to clear the air and a few things for everyone. Yes, my cousin is the young man that was found deceased. No, my family is not ready for your questions. No, the police did not find him. And that I found that was interesting, because if I'm not mistaken, I think that I did read where there were accounts where the police found him. So I mean, I don't know. And our family, with our own hands and shattered hearts, found his body.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Is what they said here. And we just lost a beautiful, kind soul, and our pain is unbearable while we're trying to breathe through the worst moment of our lives. Some of y'all are worried about gossip lies and things that don't matter. And so I guess there's some other issues. And so some questions about what went on around that. And it's just a very bizarre, sad situation.
Well, there were there were contradicting stories even before he was found about what had happened. There were people saying the family's saying this, but that didn't happen, or vice versa. So it was really kind of confusing to start with, and it seems the confusion just keeps kind of going. But it's still just a tragedy that he was found the way he was, and our prayers go out to the family and friends of him.
It's got to be a tragic thing. I mean, no matter how it happened or how it came down, this young man is not with us anymore, and that is a sad thing. And I can't imagine losing a young son, and it's got to be a tragic situation, and our hearts go out to the family. We are coming into the school week. School starts tomorrow. We have the issue where Titusville had talked about school zone cameras. The city council passed that. This money was appropriated for that, and so that apparently they're going to go into place, and we don't know when or where. Apparently, is it going to be in every school zone? Where is it going to be? But before it starts in Titusville, it was actually rebuked in Palm Bay, and we had Chief Agello get up a couple of city council meetings ago and said that they're leaving Redfin because of the fact that this is a broken program.
Yeah, so when we instituted this, and remember, and I say this for the Titusville folks, this was a money grab. Simple as that.
I was in the
meeting. I was in the meetings, and I had the text. I literally had the screenshots from text messages to prove that, because there was just so many things wrong with it. We were getting citations that were labeled from Miami-Dade. We had one lady that came to court, and she said, and she had a GPS in her business truck and showed the speed. And then the officers were like, well, it took two cars and added their speed together. Well, how many times did they do that? And how many times is this camera unjustly charged? That day, she was one of the very few that were found not guilty. Because all they
Only
do-
because she had the GPS.
She had the GPS, so it's that you're guilty until proven innocent type thing, and so I'm hoping that we do move forward. I'm hoping that we do terminate the contract, because
Chief Pagello didn't speak very highly of the
No,
program at all.
he talked about bad customer service. He talked about the unreliability, and quite frankly, he talked about the citizens lost trust in the program. There was just too many inconsistencies. Red Speed guaranteed that very few people fight the tickets. Well, last time I said,
Wait. Don't just run past that list. They said very few people fight the tickets, and that's a basis for doing it?
That's what because they said that, because they have to set up magistrates and everything and court dates, and they said, well, people just literally will pay the $100. It's cheaper to get out of work.
Taken back.
But what happened
You're
is,
kidding me.
so we had to go, Chief of Jail had to go back and ask for $6,000 from counsel, because the magistrate was already booked out until December.
Wow.
That's because people lost trust. When they start seeing, the complaints over and over, and then the complaints are validated. When one lady says they literally added 2 cars together and I got hit. And so the unfortunate part is your Titusville citizens. And I say they say it's a free, it doesn't cost.
Yeah, it doesn't cost us anything.
That's not true, because the biggest problem in Palm Bay is traffic. If you ask any citizens, what's your number one problem? Traffic. Those officers have to sit there and watch now, instead of on the street patrolling and doing traffic complaints, they're sitting in a desk or a computer watching camera footage, and they have to sit there and click each one of them to validate the citation. So it is costing you
I
money.
didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah, because even Red Speed said, we don't write the tickets, we just provide you the evidence to write the tickets. And so you have officers sitting in there, and each of them were
The rubber stamping it?
well, I would say so. I would say if 250 citations got through with Miami-Dade, or 215. But yeah, all they're doing is there's their speed, is that car and that tag meet up, right? And so, so I think there was a public records request done by a local news agency, and I think they said there was like, I can't remember, 33,000 tickets in a month or something like that. It was a crazy amount. Yeah, so they're sitting there looking at that many videos, right? And so now Titusville, so you're going to lose officers from the street.
Right.
You're going to be paying them at $100 a pop.
Wow.
And if you're using Red Speed, which I think you are, you probably piggybacked with, I would be curious, did you piggyback with Palm Bay, and now we're terminating the contract with them? It's just unfortunate. I hope Titusville can reconsider it.
I think the last thing they said that they were going to probably try it out, 1 or 2, I can't remember exactly, but I know Sarah Stokel was wanting to try to do a trial of it to see, basically try it out and see how it worked. But
the disturbing thing was that they were going to leave the camera on all day during the school year.
yeah,
And they voted to do that, did they not?
and so strangely enough, Stokel and Moscoso did not want it to be all day long. They wanted the hours to stay the
why
same.
would you have it on all day if it's about safety
Because
of the children?
Because what one of the officers had tried to say was that it was there's some kids who are getting out in the middle of the day that go to doctor's appointments or something else, and they're in danger, they're at risk. And if we could just save one child, just one child.
So what do you anticipate is going to happen here in Titusville as they start this?
Your citizens are going to go through the same trial and errors. And, I think eventually it's going to come back to council, and they're going to have to decide, is it really worth $100? Is it really worth the aggravation? Putting your citizens through this.
We've had people here in Titusville who have tried to shame people by saying, you're not for safety if you're not for these cameras. Are you kidding me? Again, we've said it before. You just said it. It's a money grab. Read my lips. A money grab.
And I would say, if that's the case, put a physical police car there as much as you can, or leave your flashing lights on the entire day, because that slows me down.
Exactly.
When I see that flashing 20 mile an hour sign, that slows me down.
Yep.
But the problem, so 24 states have banned these cameras. 24 states. Georgia tried to vote on it, and they came short of banning it. This is a disaster. It's going to be a disaster in Titusville. It's just the lure of the money, right? It's intoxicating.
And everybody gets it. The school board gets it. Your police department gets it. The state gets it. Everybody gets a piece of this $100. The company gets a very large portion of it as well. They get $21 for every ticket. So of course they want.
Yeah.
So sad. That's where we are today. Florida Department of Environmental Protection, interesting enough, is petitioning the court to say, we're not in control of this thing of guarding the manatees.
Yeah.
And they're saying that this is federal jurisdiction. It's not us. What's happening here, Chris?
Yeah, I think the last numbers were around 80 manatees that died in Brevard County alone. And of the 100 and something or more than that had died during the last cold snap or whatever last year, I think. So they're really pushing to try to see what we can do about guarding these. And a lot of it has to do with the food source, their food source disappearing. And so I know people are suing them, and their argument is that they shouldn't be required to make laws and stuff or make rules to enforce pollution, controls, because that's not their responsibility. It's the responsibility of the federal government, not ours. So it's not our.
When have you seen a state agency
weird because
backing away from authority?
Florida Department of Environmental Protection.
Right.
This is weird.
It's so.
This is getting into the bizarro state.
So they're like, I know they're trying to kick the can, and you're trying to hot potato this issue, and it's really disappointing because the federal government doesn't care about the manatees down here. The people who live here care about the manatees, and if anything, they should be trying to find the loophole in the law that says, yes, we can help, our local citizens and our local wildlife stay alive. So I don't know why they're doing this.
We'll keep up on that case. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with it. We are, again, down the road, no more video release yet on the Trimeria Charles shooting. I get the sense that Chief Lau probably is hoping this just absolutely goes away and he has to release no more footage, because the last footage that he released actually contradicts a lot of the first narrative. What do you think is going to happen with this? Lance, do you think that he's going to release more video, or we're just postulating here? And then as you look at, we have put in the request also, not just for the body cam video, which there's still more body cam video that has not been shown of the Trimeria Charles shooting, but also a December shooting of an officer-involved shooting in Titusville that we think is very important for you to find out about. And we've been stonewalled on that. And so it's interesting. What do you think is going to happen here with the video?
I don't know. I think eventually it has to get released, you would think, right? But I think you guys are still dealing with 17,000 emails or something like that as well. So I don't know. It's just, the longer this goes on, and I think we've discussed this from, when we first sat down, is the longer this goes on, it just makes you wonder, right? You talk about all the different narratives in the Pelletier case, right? But that's what happens when you don't get a good statement up front. Mm-hmm. When you leave that guessing game out there for the public, right? Because then we all just make up our own stories, and then we start blending truth with what we want people to believe. And so this, to me, is just troubling. It's absolutely troubling. You're right. I think the second set of videos that came out, I was just like, wow, man, this is crazy.
But what should have happened? Okay, you're a deputy chief. You see this video. Well, we probably would have known about it. Why would you not release all of this ahead of time?
You're hiding something.
Right? So you come out with a narrative. Mm-hmm. And you try to narrate for the people. See, right here. No, I can't see. It's a grainy video. It's almost worse than a Zapruder film. Circle it. There's a gun. See, he reclaims the gun. Why do you have to do it? Why don't you just release the film? And so here we are. We're in August. And we're still playing this game. Why, Lance?
Well,
make me understand why.
First, you have egos involved, right? So you have egos. You have a chief that is saying, I don't have to. So that's the first thing, right? I'm going to protect my people, but quite frankly, I don't have to. I've been with this agency, I think, 32 years. I've been the chief now 12 or 13 years. I don't have to.
And it's obviously no one keeping them accountable for it, right?
No, not absolutely.
The city council not keeping them accountable?
No, not at all.
We know that the recently hired city manager was too scared to say anything to him because the city council voted 5-0 to tell him to release the video. And he does nothing about it.
Right.
At all. He's his boss.
Yep.
And he says nothing. at all. Zilch. So obviously he's allowed to get away with this, Chris. He's accountable to nobody here in Titusville.
Yep, they're enabling him to do this. They're saying it's fine what you're doing. It's fine that you don't follow what the city council has requested you to do. They're saying you can keep doing business like you've been doing, and that's what he's going to keep doing until someone tells him to stop. His boss, the city manager, and I thought possibly that the city manager wasn't doing much before because he was the interim city manager, but now he has been hired by the city council to be the city manager, and I'm hoping that gives him some encouragement to really handle the situation with the police department
Now, he was asked, and there's been information that has been given that he was asked before, what would you do with Lau if you were hired as city manager? And he tap danced.
Yeah, like a politician.
Which like a politician, and he's tap dancing now. I think he's scared of Lau. I think Lau runs the city of Titusville. Is what I see. There's no one holding him accountable. No one, and everyone seems to be scared of this guy. I've not seen anything like it. It's worse than the Dukes of Hazzard. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he's like Boss Hogg, and he's just allowed to do whatever he wants to do, and it's crazy. And I guess it's not going to be until the citizens or we get some FBI in here to be able to investigate this that we're going to get something different happen. This, to me, is craziness. This is not backing the blue. This is insanity. This is complete insanity because everyone has to be kept accountable no matter who you are. Do you know the FBI has to appear before Congress and justify their behavior?
Yep.
But the Titusville police doesn't have to appear before anyone? Is that what you're saying?
You know, that's what everyone keeps interpreting the ordinance, the city charter, that city council can't question them, but that is their responsibility. They can't tell the chief what to do, but they can have him come in front of them and answer questions.
Oversight.
They actually have subpoena power. They can make him come in front of them and make him testify in front. That is their job as a legislative body for the city. That is their job, is for oversight of everybody. Now, they can't legally say you need to do X, Y, and Z, but they can't see why did you do X, Y, and Z.
At least raise the question. But what I've seen in this situation and in the time that Lau has been in office, I don't see anyone with a backbone to stand up and ask this guy fair questions to keep him accountable. I see no one with a backbone. And tell me if I'm wrong, and maybe there's a lot of spine surgeries going on in Titusville. Must be. I see no one with a backbone to ask this guy the real questions. And this shooting here, there are some real questions as to whether this guy was shot down outside of what was right. Am I wrong, Lance? From based on what you've seen.
No, and I'll talk about and I haven't broke down the video, publicly, but I'll tell you one of the issues that I saw initially is you have one officer that fires a multiple around. Was it 10 or so? Another guy fires 3, I think, if I remember right. And then you have and I see what looks like the starting of a 100-yard dash, where I see a whole bunch of cops chasing one guy. And my understanding is that several of the officers didn't fire. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of tells me a perspective. One guy, he just fires indiscriminately. Mm-hmm. One guy fires when he believes there's an immediate threat. That's why he only fired a couple rounds. And as they're running, all these other officers don't shoot. One, they probably see the backdrop of the house, and 2, they realize he's not a threat. And right. So I think that's the problem. You have all these officers that didn't fire, and so that's what I think you have from I've been in this job over 20 years. So you have one guy that perceived a threat all the way from the beginning until he ran around the house, even after he dropped his firearm in the driveway from the like right at the roadway. Never recognized the threat change and fires indiscriminately until Mr. Charles goes down. One officer fires initially when he sees the threat, maybe, and he once that threat is no longer there, he's running away. Which okay, you're shooting at me. Guess what I'm doing?
Right. Yeah.
I'm running.
Right.
I'm running. I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to stand there while people shoot me.
So tell us right or wrong. The plea and felon law. I mean, when someone is not a threat and they're running, and they're no longer a threat, isn't there a point with that you don't have a right to shoot them in the back?
Yeah, it's designed for, are you an imminent threat? If you get away, are you a bigger threat to society unless I do whatever I can do, including deadly force, to stop you. Right. So that's what it's designed for. I've used the example. We had a serial robber that was holding guns to clerks' heads in Palm Bay. If that person gets away from us, is he going to be a bigger threat to society? Will he eventually kill somebody? Absolutely right. Can I shoot that guy if he's running from me? I've identified him. We just let the robbery in progress. That scenario happened in Palm Bay. A guy that, in my opinion, never presented a threat. From what I see. Yeah, he was armed with a weapon. He comes out of the house, trips, falls, the weapon goes down, and he goes to pick the firearm up. So whatever happens in that 5 to 10 seconds, right? Okay, yeah. If you're
Justified shooting.
If you're going to pick up a firearm in front of me, and I'm telling you not to, there's a good chance I'm going to do everything I can to stop you.
Okay.
Once you run, and you're no longer a threat, you're running away from me. It's hard to justify that, and it's hard to justify. From what it appears to me, when I watched the video, he drops the weapon somewhere in the roadway, like I said, right at the sidewalk. And then there's another 7 shots after that are taken. Those are harder to justify. What I kind of wished, if this had been 2 citizens, or 3, I guess, because we have 3 people involved, would there have been charges if the 2 officers were citizens?
Right.
I'm going to say yes.
Oh,
I'm going to say yes.
Been charged
because they're going to say he was running away. He was no threat. He was not even armed at the time. That's what they're going to say, right?
And the use of deadly force as a citizen, that's a big consideration as to whether a citizen is going to be charged, right?
Absolutely.
So if someone comes into your house, if I'm at home and someone comes into my house, the moment that they begin to retreat, they're no longer considered a threat, are they not?
That's what they'll say. He was no longer a threat. He was walking away. He was running away, and then you shot him in the back, right? And so I think that's where the public loses trust, right? Is when they see that there's two different standards, like graphs, standards, right? And I think that's where the issues lie, because in this circumstance, and the citizens, there would at least been a grand jury.
Oh,
Grand
definitely.
jury would have seen this.
Yeah.
And grand juries usually indict because they only get one side of the story. Now, when you're not transparent up front, you start showing those double standards. Because again, if this had been 3 citizens, that video would have been out yesterday.
You raise a great point.
You raise a great
point.
We made it great. Let's look at these 2 people who
You raise a great point.
This citizen. We've never heard about Mr. Charles's history.
No.
Right? We may have heard about the other people's history, but we've never heard about history. So the whole thing would have been flip-flopped. And I think the longer this drags on, the more your citizens understand that. The more that people say this isn't right.
But do you think that they think that they're getting away with it by not revealing the video?
They don't think they're getting away with it. Egos kick in. They think they're above everybody else. They think they're smarter than the average citizen. And quite honestly, they're hoping that something happens in Palm Bay, Cocoa, anywhere else in the county, and then everybody will shift over.
Right.
That's what they're used to. You look at the shootings in Palm Bay; they get coverage for a day and they're gone.
Yeah.
And then
another shooting happened.
And the unfortunate part for Titusville and Titusville Police Department, the citizens didn't walk away from this one.
Yeah.
You guys didn't walk away from this one. And they were forced to have to put something out. Then they put something out. And then they got called out by the local media. Well, you guys literally did a movie production. So then they try to throw something else out. And then everybody's like, that doesn't match that. And it looks worse. It looks like now everybody just charged him. It looked like it's just a mobile firing squad.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you can recover now unless one, you got a new city manager. It's time for him to say, we as a city have to move forward. And it's not with you, Chief Lown. It's not with Major Wright. And it's not.
I honestly, I don't see it.
No, but that's the only way you're gonna. The only way you move forward and come in with an outside like Kissimmee. If you haven't taken an opportunity to watch some of his presentations, how 13 officers were involved in their excessive force cases of lying and cover-ups, and I think 12 out of 13 were fired, disciplined, 1 resigned, 1 was exonerated.
I think there's going to have to be someone from the outside.
Yeah.
I just don't see that this group, you've got some deluded people in Titusville who don't believe and understand. They blindly follow this guy and are going to follow him off a ledge. And they're not looking at the constitutional aspects of this, right?
And remember, because I've said this, so when you don't blindly follow law enforcement, all of a sudden you're defunding the police.
Right.
You're against
Right,
it, right?
right.
But if they were to bash or even investigate their own police department, all of a sudden you're anti-police.
Right.
And that's not where you want to be in America, in the United States today.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you're in Brevard County, but at the end of the day, the truth matters more than anything. The Constitution matters more than anything. If you cannot trust your law enforcement officers to protect the constitutional rights of every single citizen, how can they actually do law enforcement? How can you break the law and actually call yourself law enforcers? It doesn't make any sense to me.
And it hurts the officers.
Everybody has to be kept accountable. Particularly all public servants have to be kept. I don't care about the hue and cry of it. You can cry all you want. We are not against law enforcement. I think law enforcement should be paid highly. I think that they're underpaid. I think that the level of experience or the standards should be raised. I don't think you should just accept anybody. I think they should be paid highly. They should be trained highly, and they should have skilled leadership that are supporting them. But I'm not for all of this unconstitutional stuff. And you're seeing around the country that people are pushing back on this. That this unconstitutional action by the police department, you don't just get a free pass to do whatever you want to do. No citizen should. And you, who enforce the law, should be held to a high standard. And that's a fact. And show me where I'm wrong on that, Lance. I'll give you the last word.
No, I agree 100%. You know, we have men and women out there that are doing a lot of stuff. We see courageous actions every day. And when our leadership doesn't hold themselves accountable, it's those officers that pay, and they do a tremendous job. You know, and like me, I support law enforcement. If you're like, nope, he's against, turn his back on his brothers and sisters in blue. But no, these officers deserve to be supported by their community. And when they're not supported by the community, it's usually because it's the results of the command staff and the leadership that's lost that trust.
And just think about what you just said. That's kind of like what you see in cult leaders, right?
Absolutely.
So if I don't support the cult, then you're a turncoat.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is the same kind of mindset. You know, no, I support the truth.
Yep.
And wherever that takes me. And so it's what it is. We've been studying this and been on this BrevardNEWS. We've done interviews with the people that were there that night. At some point, we're going to release that information. And what they say about what happened that night, you will be shocked by. And there's a lot of things going on with this, and there's a lot more to be talked about, and we're going to continue to stay on it. Thanks, guys, for joining us on this edition of the Titusville Report. And my name is Kevin Jeffrey with Lance Fisher and also Chris Childs. We'll see you next time on the Titusville Report.